Just want to relate this experience that I had quite a few years ago. I was about 16 years old. This was roughly about 25 years ago. A friend and I decided to go to the beach one day, and we took two females with us. He was trying to hook up with one, I was trying to hook up with the other. And on our way over to the beach, I'm sitting in the back seat with one of the girls and just talking to her, but there's a lot of things going on in my mind, how am I going to hook up with this girl? Just these thoughts that a teenager, a regular 16-year-old teenager will have, as they're trying to hook up with with somebody. As we got to the beach, we went down to the shore, we laid out our blankets, and I was trying to get her away from my friend and the other girl. I was trying to get her to come out into the water with me so I can hopefully, just put my grubby little hands all over her. But through the normal course of our discussion, she just wasn't budging. She didn't want to go in the water. And eventually she said, if you want to go out into the water, she said, then go by yourself. I kind of felt a little embarrassed at that point. So that's exactly what I did. Took my shirt off, took my ball cap off, and I went out into the water. And I really didn't want to. But as I went into the water and took a little dip, um, as I got acclimated to the cold water, I went out a little bit from the shore and I was just kind of on my back, going over the waves and just kind of looking up at the sky, looking out into the water as far as the eye could see. And it's kind of hard to explain, but it was almost as if I started to daydream. I lost total awareness that I was even in the water. It's like my mind just went somewhere else. Eventually, my awareness returned, and I realized that, oh, I'm in the water. I better go back over towards my friends. I've had enough of this. When I looked back towards the shore to go back, I realized that I don't know how, but I was now a great distance away from the shore. In that time in which I lost awareness, for somehow, some way, I was pulled far out away from the shoreline. A pretty good distance, but as a 16-year-old, I knew I was strong and I was fit. But at that point, I was a little worried because I was this great distance. So I started to swim back. I started to swim. And I started to swim and I started to swim some more. Eventually, I realized that I wasn't getting any closer, and in fact, it appeared as if I was being pulled further out into the ocean and away from the shore. Um, to make a long story short, I swam, and I swam with every ounce of energy and strength that I could muster at that point. I swam to the point of basically sheer exhaustion, and to a point where I would have to actually cease my swimming motion, allow myself to sink down into the water a little bit so I can recoup energy, and then I would swim back up to the surface, and then I would resume my swimming motion. I did this a couple of times, but I got to the point where I could really just having a hard time just keeping my head above the water, and I started to become very concerned at that point. As I'm struggling to keep my head above the water, I thought to myself, as I was panicking, I thought to myself, I said, why is this happening to me? At that point, I could see myself over the car as we were driving over to the beach. I could see myself in the back seat of this car. I could see myself sitting next to this girl, and I could actually read my thoughts at that moment. I could read those dirty, filthy thoughts that I had going through my head as I was directing them to this girl sitting next to me. I saw us park the car. I saw us go to the shore. I saw me trying to get her out into the water. I saw her reject me. And then I saw the foolish pride that I had as I went out into the water, embarrassed. At that point, my awareness returned, and I was struggling just to keep my head above the water. At this point, the realization set in. I realized that I was going to die. The fear that I felt was overwhelming, sheer terror. I have never been so afraid in my whole life, obviously. Something happened at this point. I heard a voice, and the voice said, "Just let yourself go, and everything will be just fine. Just let yourself go, and everything will be just fine." And that's what I did. I let myself go. As I was sinking underneath the water, just pure black, I felt so much peace. The fear left, it went away. And I just remember thinking to myself, I just hope that my body washes up on shore so my mother knows what happened to me. At this point, I felt myself in a fetal position and I felt something underneath me. I could feel the ground underneath me. And I pushed up with my arms and my legs, and to my surprise, I was standing in about 3 feet of water with the shore just several feet away from me. I went back to the shore, basically crawled back onto the shore. I looked out into the water thinking that maybe perhaps a dolphin brought me in. I don't know. But at that point, I remembered the voice and the message. Just let yourself go and everything will be just fine. So I wanted to share that. I've noticed that this spirit of atheism is sweeping the planet. And I know within myself that there is something greater that lies beyond. I'm not a religious person. I don't know what the nature of God is. Okay, but as I take a look around, I can see that there is a definite design to everything. And it leads me to believe that there is a creator or an architect that created all of this. So that's my story. I wanted to share that, hopefully to give people some kind of hope and inspiration that we are more and there is something greater that lies beyond. Thank you for listening.